charm a little more often.
Is Ennis coming today?
No. He's in Sacramento. How's the radio? Good fun?
Yeah.
Good morning, everyone, and thank you for joining us for the meeting of the Tulare County Board of Supervisors. Today is November 7th, and I thank everyone for being here. We will begin today's meeting with the Pledge of Allegiance, followed by a moment of silence. We will be led today by Supervisor Crocker.
Pledge. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. You may be seated. Okay, we will now take up item number 1 on our agenda, which is Board of Supervisors matters, and I will look immediately to my right, Supervisor Shuckling.
Okay, well, last week we all attended the San Joaquin Valley Regional Association of California Counties. That's a mouthful. Conference. Some very good networking went on and some great workshops, so that was a nice event to attend. Tomorrow starts the Visalia Chamber of Commerce is having a 2-week class called Candidates College. There are panels, folks who are interested in maybe becoming leaders in their community in the future through elected office or even appointed offices can attend. Next Wednesday night, the second part will be held at the Visalia City Council chambers, and I, along with some other electeds, will be a part of that to help folks know the ins and outs of running or serving in an office. Thursday, I have my Animal Services Advisory Committee meeting, and I guess that's about it.
All right, thank you. Supervisor Crocker.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Last night I attended a Three Rivers Town Hall meeting, and I think I've mentioned this before, but an ongoing topic of concern is short-term vacation rentals, and so I don't have a strong feeling as far as what the board interest would be, but I would be happy if staff at a future meeting would see what if any, if there is a problem, and if there is a problem, what can be done. I think there's some opportunities to maintain business friendliness and still make sure that there's minimal impact to local neighborhoods. But that was a request that's been there, and it doesn't seem to be going away. In addition to attending the conference last week, there was also a wonderful Lindsay Rib Cook-Off the Lindsay Chamber of Commerce had last Saturday. There's some excellent ribs. You can grab bagfuls of them. It's just wonderful. Just freeze them. It's great.
Like you did.
People,
You have some right here.
That's right. Yeah, they still have a little. It's good for breakfast and eggs. It's wonderful. People. It's funny. You go around and people that have done it more than once. They have their big old gallon Ziploc bags and they just go around fill them up, and they get it. So it's for. It helps with local nonprofits, the proceeds of that, and there was some excellent competition.
Everybody enjoys it but the pork, the pig.
Yeah, well, they're pigs. So, the Three Rivers also had their annual holiday bazaar that benefited the museum, and on last Saturday. Tomorrow evening, I will be having a community meeting in Tonyville, just to kind of get to know the community. I've partnered with El Quinto del Sol to do this in Tuleville and in El Rancho, and so we're now going to Tonyville, and so I'm looking forward to meeting individuals. My great grandparents used to own the one store in Tonyville, so there's some roots there, and
It's the one in only store.
The one and only store. That's
They
right.
had a monopoly.
It did have a monopoly. It was wonderful. I only support monopolies if my family's involved with them. So that'll be great. And other than that, I think that concludes my report.
That's a lengthy report. Supervisor
For
Wood.
3 items, yeah.
Well, thank you, Mr. Chairman. At the Regional Association meeting at Tenaya, we had an opportunity, the Supervisor Buddy Mendez from Fresno County, myself, and our Executive Director to present on Temperance Flat. And we had some really good responses from people afterwards, because people, everybody hears about a project, they don't really know how the project would work, what it would look like, where it would be, and that sort of thing. And so I think it was helpful for other counties to understand this particular project. And what's sort of interesting is there's 5 counties that are members of the JPA, but actually every county within the valley floor, from San Joaquin all the way down to Bakersfield to Kern County, has an interest in this project, because there's irrigation districts, water districts that are members of this organization that are there for the benefit of their communities and agriculture in all of those counties. So it was of a general interest to all the different counties, I thought. Saturday was kind of a fun thing for me. It was an all-class reunion, and you have to be out of school for the high school for 25 years. And I went back, and the oldest member there, I think, was like 95 or something like that. And it's just a lot of fun to intermingle with people. My mom was there and her friends, and I was there with my friends, and there were some younger people too. I can't imagine that. But anyway, we had a great time at the Vice the Convention Center, and so it was fun to do that. I'm really looking forward to next week's night meeting in Porterville. It's just a wonderful thing to drive to Porterville from my house on a cold December night. So I'm looking forward.
Let's hope it's foggy.
I hope it's foggy.
And it's a good thing it's in November.
Yeah, November. I caught that. Other than that, we were supposed to have had a water meeting of our JP on this Friday, but most facilities are closed because of the holidays, so we're trying to find another day that works for everybody. I will be speaking at the Supervisory Academy graduation on the 9th, and I look forward to that opportunity. So that's all I have. Thanks.
All right, great. Thank you. A few things I wanted to go over today. One of the items from the San Joaquin Valley Association of Counties conference that I really took home, and I think it would be a great item to bring back here. It was the last session of the full day of business, and some people were sleeping, some people were, I don't know where they were, but I stayed and I was absolutely entrenched in this session. It was a session titled All Dads Matter. And it's a program up in Merced County, and they've got some very passionate people who are running this program. But it's a very unique program because I think that, this program focuses around new fathers, which I'm one of them, times 3. But, there's plenty of training programs out there for women and that focus on preparing women to be new mothers, and the dads are just kind of out there left to figure it out on their own. And there are some cases where the dads end up being a primarily mother-like role. And so this program focuses on equipping men, all men. You don't have to be enrolled in a county program or service at all, but any man in Merced County can enroll in this program. And it's really I think it's about a month-long program that meets on Saturdays, and they go over everything from changing diapers to holding babies to burping to understanding your wife. Man, I tell you, that understanding your wife training would have been extremely helpful.
This is only a month-long program?
Yeah, it's a month-long program. I know, really. But there's just a lot of different opportunities and things that are covered in this
That's
program.
a lifetime occupation.
And I think that it would be a great thing to see. It's a national branded program. I'd like to see something in the future maybe looked at and bring it here to Tulare County. I know that the gentleman that presented from Merced County would be very, very willing to come down and help train and go over the program for our staff. And it is housed in the Human Services Agency in Merced County, so I think HHSA would be a perfect fit. I was originally thinking the Sheriff's Department, but I think we'll go with you guys. So I wanted to go over that, and then this Wednesday at 5:30, the Tulare Redevelopment Oversight Board will be meeting. Finally, these things seem to be wrapping up, these oversight boards, and I know the city of Tulare is very much motivated by the fact that they'd like to try to get everything wrapped up within their redevelopment oversight board before we go to the county-wide oversight board. There's a space planning meeting this Thursday at 3 o'clock. Look forward to that and covering all the various projects we've got going on in the county, which we have a lot. And if anybody has a chance to go over and see the Cigna facility, that really is incredible, the job that was done to get that ready for the Sheriff's Department and Fire Department as well. I'm sure they'll be having an open house around the holidays over there. The Early Martown Council meets this Thursday. I think that the highlight item there is definitely the unveiling of their new park, the grand opening of their new park, which is going to be happening first weekend of December. But residents are very excited about that, and that is at the forefront of everybody's mind, along with one of the town council members' particular items of interest, and that's trying to reopen the transfer station. So I look forward to hearing that conversation in early March on Thursday. And then lastly, the Boys and Girls Club will be having their golf classic on Friday. I'm not going to be participating, although it would be great fun, but got some other meetings and things I've got already scheduled that conflicted with it, but that's a great event to raise money for the Boys and Girls Club. That being said, that concludes my Board of Supervisors matters, and we will now move on our agenda to take up item number 2. This is an item that we look forward to each and every year, and I think it's a great opportunity to acknowledge those in our community who are adopted families, and also acknowledge the hard work done by our child welfare services. So at this time, I will take up item 2, which is a request from the Health and Human Services Agency to designate the month of November 2017 as Adoption Awareness Month in Tulare County. And I will now turn it over to Natalie.
Morning, Chairman Vanderpool, members of the board, Mr. Spada, and council. My name is Natalie Bolin, and I'm the Division Manager of Child Welfare Services. Each November is National Adoption Awareness Month, and this year we honor all who choose adoption and bring awareness to the fact that there's many children in the Tulare County foster care system who are needing forever homes. Each year, a new initiative focuses our outreach and awareness, raising efforts around a theme. And this theme for this year is teens needing families no matter what. This highlights the importance of identifying well-prepared and committed families for thousands of teenagers in foster care in the state of California. Our adoption social workers diligently strive to find loving, permanent families for Tulare County foster youth who cannot return home. Their passion and dedication for the children we serve is evident in the smiles that they create. Last fiscal year, they finalized 162 adoptions for Tulare County. And at this time, I would like to ask the adoption social workers to stand and be acknowledged. This morning, we have a family with us who will share their story of adoption. And I would like to introduce Bonnie Villegas and her family.
Good morning, and thank you for inviting us here. I'd like to introduce to you almost all my family. This is Angelica, and she's 16. This is Brizetta, she's 14, and Mariah, she's 13. And our son is also here, Justin, and he's 20. Our oldest son, Matthew, could not attend, and he's 24. Our 3 youngest daughters are adopted, and this is our adoption story. It's very unusual, to say the least, and it actually began in 2002 when I was medically retired as a correctional officer. At the time, we had our 2 sons. Matthew was 10 and Justin was 6. And since I was retiring early, we decided as a family we wanted to adopt a baby girl. However, God had other plans for us, and we were blessed with 2 sisters, Angelica and Brizetta. We were camping in Santa Cruz when we got the call. At the time, Angelica was 2 and Brizetta was 7 months old. We asked for special permission to pick them up and take them to Santa Cruz so we could finish our vacation there. It was approved, and it took a little over a year to adopt them. And on National Adoption Day 2004, it was finally approved. So now with 4 children, you would think our family was complete, right? Fast forward to 2016. We're going on another family camping trip to the coast. Maybe I need to stop going camping. And we get a message from Kathleen Trevino late on a Friday to call her. She wanted to speak to us. We spent the entire weekend wondering what she could possibly want to talk to us about. So early Monday morning, I call her as soon as possible, and I'm told that our girl's youngest sister, Mariah, age 12 at the time, needed a forever family. To say I was shocked was an understatement. Here we thought our family was complete, but once again, God had other plans for us. I immediately called my husband Daniel, and his reaction was the same as mine. How could we possibly say no? So we had to track down our sons and let them know what we were planning. Matthew was 23 at the time, and he was in Japan on the USS Ronald Reagan in the Navy. And Justin, 19, was on an island in Micronesia serving as a 1-year missionary teacher. They were both on board. When I broke the big news to the girls individually, I did it individually. I wasn't sure what to expect, but they were both so excited to meet their youngest sister. Angelica and Brizetta had always known that they had a younger sister somewhere. I had told them, but the girls had never met. We found out later that Mariah also knew she had 2 older sisters. So to make a long story short, last June, Mariah was brought to our home. And on National Adoption Day, 2016, we became a completed family. Hopefully, this is it. I'm not gonna lie.
I would avoid camping out, I think.
No more camping
When
trips.
Kathleen calls me, I cringe. Soon after the adoption was finalized, we all went to Japan for 10 days. That's where our oldest was stationed, so that all 5 of our kids could meet for the first time, spend time together, and bond as a family. It worked. We have our ups and downs, just like any other family. However, my husband Daniel and I feel that we are so blessed, and we have such wonderful children, and we cannot imagine our lives without the gift of adoption. And we'd like to thank all our social workers. Barbara, she was from Aspera, and she was our first social worker. Christine from Tulare County, Kathleen, all the attorneys, the judges that was able to make our family possible. Thank you.
Thank you. Well, Bonnie, it's my honor to present this proclamation. I would love it if you and your family would come join me, and I would also like to invite all of our social workers to come and join me back here as well as I present this proclamation. This is a much-deserved honor and recognition for you, so please do come and join me in the well here as I present this proclamation. All right, great to have the whole team here. It's really a team that it takes to get this done. So it's my honor to present this proclamation on behalf of the Tulare County Board of Supervisors, designating November 2017 as Adoption Awareness Month in Tulare County. Each year, November is recognized nationally as Adoption Awareness Month, and while adoption-related issues are important, the particular focus of this month is the adoption of children currently in the foster care system. And whereas every child deserves a loving, nurturing, and permanent home, adoption gives children a brighter future, brings great joy to the adoptive parents, and places fewer demands on social services. And whereas over 400,000 children are in foster care nationwide, over 100,000 are waiting to be adopted. And whereas children waiting for adoptive parents and families who have adopted these children require and deserve community and public agency support. And whereas the Tulare County Adoptions Unit, a unit within the Tulare County Child Welfare Services, works diligently to find permanency for Tulare County's foster youth. And whereas more than 1,512 adoptions have been finalized by the Tulare County Adoptions Department in the past 11 years, and 162 adoptions were finalized in fiscal year 2016-2017. And whereas National Adoption Day will be celebrated in Tulare County on November 15, 2017, with a special event hosted by the Tulare County Child Welfare Services Adoptions and the AspiraNet Reach program for foster and adoptive parents and their children. And whereas National Adoption Day will be celebrated in Tulare County on November 18, 2017, in Tulare County Superior Court, where families will finalize the adoption of their children. And whereas the County of Tulare is committed to recognizing and honoring those observances that are dedicated to promoting the best ideals of public service, and National Adoption Awareness Month is one such event. Now, therefore, be it resolved, the Tulare County Board of Supervisors do hereby recognize National Adoption Awareness Month and proclaim November 2017 as Adoption Awareness Month in Tulare County, and call upon the citizens, public and private institutions, businesses, and schools in Tulare County to recommit our community to the support of the adoption of children of all ages, and encourage Tulare County's families to answer the call, even when camping, by becoming adoptive parents, caring for these children, and ensuring their safety, permanency, and well-being. Signed by Kyler Crocker, Pete Vanderpool, Amy Shucklian, Steve Worthley, and Mike Ennis. Congratulations. And really, on a personal note, I want to share with you, Bonnie and your family, I appreciate so much what you have done. And the opportunity that you have given your daughters to have a brighter future and having that permanent home. I truly believe it is the greatest gift that can be given to give children that permanent home. Every child deserves love. Every child deserves a place to call home. Every child deserves a family. And you have provided that to your daughters, and I think it's an incredible thing. So, girls, you are truly lucky to have such loving parents. And I also have to say to our staff, I really appreciate the dedication. And I don't know if anybody can tell, but I just got my hair cut yesterday. The woman who cuts my hair has cut my hair since high school. And I have been with her through a lot of ups and downs. But just in this last year, she too is in the process of becoming an adoptive parent. She was given the gift of twins at a few weeks old, very young, and she's going through that difficult navigation of the system. But one thing that she tells me always is the great staff that we have at Tulare County that has made this an incredible experience for her and truly a life-changing experience. And I know that her life is going to be better and her boy's life will be better into the future because of it. And so to our staff, to our team, I thank you from the bottom of my heart because I know the work that you do is often underappreciated, but I want you to know here today that you are very much appreciated for changing lives just like you have done for these beautiful girls and for Bonnie and Daniel and for the family. So thank you so much, and may this month be truly a celebration for you. So thank you. Oh, yeah. Let's get a picture first. Yeah, it's all about shaking hands, right?
Okay. Ready? Let's
comments, board members?
Mr. Chairman, I thank you. This is always one of those days that I know I've looked forward to for 19 years on the board. And, you know, we often speak in terms of numbers and statistics. And so we talk about 400,000 foster children, 100,000 or more available for adoption. But this is the one time where I think numbers are meaningless, really. 162 children, 162 individuals have had their lives transformed this year. And if it were one, or it was 100, or it was 200, that individual, every one of those individual children has had a tremendous blessing bestowed upon them. And I too want to thank our staff. I want to thank the families that step up. And again, as was stated, it's not just the individual children, but it's also the families that are affected by that too. And I just want to thank everyone for their participation in this. This is a great role of government because actually adoption is a legal process, and so government must be engaged in that. And to the extent that we can facilitate that, expedite that, make it happen, help people to do this, it's got to be one of the highest callings, I think, of local government. So thank you.
Supervisor Shuckley?
I would just ditto what both of you said eloquently. Thank you.
Supervisor Crocker?
Yeah, the same. I don't have the appreciation of having children, but I do appreciate what others do, and I couldn't agree more. It's very touching, and I'm very proud to be a part of Tulare County on this day.
Thank you again for making a tremendous difference for the 162 children who were able to be adopted this year. It really is an incredible achievement, and so you again are to be commended. So thank you very much. And Bonnie, thank you for sharing your story with us this morning. Really wonderful. Just be careful on your next camping trip.
They don't go camping anymore. They go to the coast.
This is an action item. I will entertain a motion.
Move approval.
Second.
I have a motion by Supervisor Shuckley and a second by Supervisor Crocker. Please vote. Motion passes unanimously, 4-0, with Supervisor Ennis not voting for this item because he is not in attendance at the meeting here today. He's in Sacramento. Okay, next we will take up item number 3 on our agenda, which is public comments. Is there anybody here wishing to speak to the board under the public comment period with an item under our jurisdiction, but not on today's agenda? Okay, seeing none, I will close the public comment period and bring it back to our regular agenda. The next item we are going to take up is the consent calendar. Anyone on the board have any items to be pulled for separate consideration or correction? Members of the public? Okay, seeing none, Chair will entertain a motion.
Second.
I have a motion by Supervisor Shuckley and a second by Supervisor Worthley. Please vote. Motion passes unanimously, 4-0, with Supervisor Ennis not voting because he is not in attendance at today's meeting. Next, we will move on to the untimed portion of our meeting today and take up item number 18, which is a request from the Tulare County Library to waive extended use fees from November 13th until December 30th, 2017 for donations to local charities of food and other goods received in the library. Darla.
Good morning. Thank you. Chairman Vanderpool, the Board of Supervisors members, Michael Spada, CAO, and Deanna Peterson, County Council. Before I get started, I want to thank you for those eloquent words about adoption, being a child of adoption. I really appreciate it a lot. Thank you. The Tulare County Library is once again producing a program called Food for Fines that will allow our patrons to start with a clean slate with us by coming to us to donate to local charities. This year we're looking at FoodLink to provide food for needy families throughout the county. We have done this over the years, and we have been really successful. We want to do this from November 13th to December 30th this year so we can bring in food before the Thanksgiving holiday all the way through Christmas. Last December, the library branch has collected over 4,000 items during this time, and this reduced and eliminated a lot of fees. And surprisingly, we didn't even see a drop in our actual income that month compared to the year before. It was just a slight difference because people were still paying off their debts for other things, and so we were still doing the good things and still showing that people were being responsible. We are going to accept donations to apply up to $10 per person, and I think that really, and this benefits everybody in the county, even those who aren't receiving the food. It's a really feel-good kind of situation, and I'm really proud that we can do this. So I'm hoping today you will authorize the Tulare County to waive the extended use fees from December 13th to December 30th for donations to local charities of food and other goods received by the library, and then find and determine that the library's Food for Fines campaign assists in the meeting the social needs of the population of Tulare County in the areas of education, health, and welfare. Thank you.
Thank you very much. I think this is a great opportunity to highlight something that you're doing that is very, very good for the community. Nobody likes to get a fine for doing anything, but especially for reading. I mean, if I turn my book in late, I get a fine. I mean, come on. But
He's a slow reader.
Can't quite
but
in 2 weeks.
It really is a great opportunity to take what could be perceived as a negative situation and turn it into something very positive for the community. And so I appreciate you thinking outside the box and giving residents an opportunity to help fellow residents while at the same time helping themselves. Any additional comments or questions other than sarcastic remarks from Supervisor Shucklian?
Nope.
All right, great. Thank you very much. Chair will entertain a motion. Any public comment?
Second.
Okay, I have a motion from Supervisor Crocker, a second by Supervisor Worthley. Please vote. Motion passes unanimously, 4-0. Less Supervisor Ennis, who is not voting because he's not in attendance.
Thank you.
Thank you, Don. Appreciate it. Next, we're going to move on to item number 19, which is a request from the County Administrative Office to review and approve proposed revisions to the county's debt policies to comply with SB 1029.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, members of the board. I want to thank you for the opportunity to present a very important matter to this board for two reasons. First, state law was recently amended that necessitated a fresh look at our debt policies. And secondly, as a result of a number of discussions before this board, as well as numerous meetings before the Strategic Financing Committee, the overarching question of debt issuance is presented to this board. As this board knows very well from the adopted budget, we are in an excellent financial position, particularly with respect to debt issuance, in the sense that we have approximately $4 million in outstanding debt, which, when considering our overall budget of a little over $1 billion, and considering our general fund budget of over $750 million, the relative debt position is excellent. However, I should begin by just briefly referring to our new state law, which has now required that this county and all counties certify that they have debt policies. We have had debt policies for a number of years, but this necessitates a fresh look. In addition, if debt is issued, we must provide in a report to the state treasurer the purposes of that debt, the types of debt, the relationship of that debt to either the capital improvement program or the budget as relevant, a statement of policy goals, and of course the annual report, which must be provided to the state. In the proposed policies that have been suggested to you, there are a number of debt instruments that are being addressed: pension obligation bonds, certificates of participation, and Mello-Roos community facilities bonds. I'd like to turn to a number of brief amendments that are being made. First is the debt limit. On page 2 of the proposed policy amendments, there is a statement in there suggested by County Council and as further suggested to be amended by our financial consultant as follows. Likewise, the ratios should not include any pension obligation debt service or the county's post-employment benefits unfunded actuarial accrued liabilities, or, this is a further amendment, or the county's unfunded actuarial accrued liabilities owed to the pension system. For background, as a general rule of thumb, the debt limit of the county would be related to 1.25% of total assessed valuation. As a prudent debt management practice, however, it should be related to the assessed valuation in the tax rate areas attributable to the unincorporated area. Basically, what these amendments are saying is that when we do these calculations, the ratio should not include POBs, any OPEBs, which are the financing of retirement health benefits, or the county's unfunded liability owed to the pension system. And increasingly, the unfunded liability is becoming important because, as a result of a recent released actuarial report by the consultant or the actuary to Sarah, we have reflected approximately a 44.4% increase in the unfunded liability. For example, tomorrow, during the joint retirement board meeting with this Board of Supervisors, the actuary for Tessera is going to be presenting a report which reflects last year's unfunded liability is just about $239 million, and it has jumped in 1 year to approximately $345 million. That's an increase of 44%. So the issue of how to address the county's unfunded pension liability becomes heightened in terms of its relevance to be addressed. The other statement, and I won't read the entire statement, but it's located on page 4. If the county were inclined to move forward with POBs, there are a number of criteria that need to be addressed. For example, consideration should include the interest rate spread between the expected borrowing rate for the POBs and the assumed rate of return on retirement plan investments. The investment risk associated with the investment of POB proceeds should be addressed. Issuing a sufficient amount of POBs to generate market interest should be addressed. And finally, the county's overall pension burden, including both POB debt and the unfunded liability, should be considered. The next revision is on page 5, which does two things. First, it deletes a statement which would indicate a preference not to use POBs, and it also includes the addition of the statement for Melrose Community Facilities District projects. The reason for this inclusion is that at the present time, there are 3 major development projects that are being processed through the Resource Management Agency, which are considering Melrose CFD bonds, which are essentially bonds used to finance major public improvements through a special tax, which has to be voted on and placed as a lien against the affected parcels. So in essence, those are the suggested revisions. May I also thank, in bringing this matter to the board, the invaluable advice and assistance of County Counsel, particularly through our County Counsel and through Deputy County Counsel Jeff Kuhn. So with that, the requested action is to adopt these policies as proposed and as further amended orally at this meeting. Thank you.
Okay. Any questions or comments by board members? Supervisor Worthley?
Well, yes, thank you, Mr. Chairman. I mean, I appreciate that we have brought this forward, and I'm not exactly sure why the previous, because this has been in existence for some time, why there was a sense of avoiding pension obligation bonds in the past, because I know the county did issue pension obligation bonds about 1998 or 7 before I came on the board, and that issuance has been paid in full. But I've just doing some real quick calculations based upon what you just said, Mike, about our unfunded liability. And so it's interesting for people. I think people need to understand is that when we say we have only $4 million indebtedness, we're talking about bonded indebtedness. But certainly when we look at what we owe on our retirement, that is also indebtedness, a different kind of indebtedness. One for which we pay, because of a change assumption rate, a 7.25% interest. And my quick calculations show that means that this coming year we would pay $25 million in interest to the retirement board at a 7.25%. If we were able to go out in the market, and that will have to remain to be seen what we would do, but if we were going to get 5% obligation bonds, we're talking $17 million. So we're a difference of $8 million a year. And so when you think about that, it's much like refinancing your house. If you've been paying 7% on your mortgage payment and you have the chance to refinance to these what I consider very unusually low rates today of 4.5% or 5%, then you're able to have a benefit of not having to pay so much interest and pay your debt off faster, or at least reduce the amount of your obligation, your monthly or annual obligation. So I think it's very wise for us to look at this as a county, and to take sure, again, that's part of our responsibility to be good stewards of the funds and the responsibility debt that we have. And so putting pension obligation bonds back on the portfolio, I think, is very prudent for us to do at this time. Thank you.
Any additional comments?
Just that was, we've talked about this quite a bit at the Strategic Finance Committee, and this is as I think at the last meeting this was stated, the legal ramifications that even in order for us to review, I think we need to update our policies, and so this is I think for everyone's sake, this is not binding us in any direction, but it allows us the opportunity to further explore what possibilities we can do to, now that hearing the $345 million, I think we knew it was going to be about $300 million. That's quite a large number to swallow. So I think it's prudent to move forward and look at options to try and make sure that we're continuing to be fiscally sound.
And I'm glad you made the point that it doesn't bind us to anything, because I think that's very important. By no means is this committing the board to issuing pension obligation bonds, but what this does is it sets the legal groundwork for us to be able to do our due diligence and look into the possibility of doing so in the future, should that become prudent. Any additional comments or questions from board members, members of the public? Okay, seeing none, I will bring it back to the board for direction.
Motion to approve, Mr. Chairman.
I have a motion by Supervisor Worthley, second by Supervisor Crocker. Please vote. Motion passes unanimously 4-0, with Supervisor Ennis not voting because he is not in attendance at today's meeting. That concludes our regularly scheduled Board of Supervisors meeting in open session. Council, do we have need for closed session?
We do. Items A through D will be heard in closed session. I have a typo, I think I might, but I want to make sure. And item E, labor is off calendar.
Okay, thank you for attending today's meeting.
This is Deanne Peterson, County Council, reporting out on closed session item A. On a motion from Supervisor Crocker, second by Supervisor Worthley, and a 4-0 vote, with Supervisor Ennis being absent, the Board of Supervisors accepted a settlement offer signed by the opposing party in potential litigation against the county. The adverse party is Fleetmatics USA Limited Liability Corporation. This case involves claims that several county departments have not paid for services established by contract. This concludes the reporting out for today.